Please, I would invite you, please take a seat. We are approaching the end of the conference, but we have still some excitement to offer. And it is with great pleasure that I welcome Deputy Director General for Education, Culture, Training and Youth, Xavier Pratz, who is also the leading person from the Commission in the governing board of the EIT. So please, Xavier, maybe you can introduce.
Good afternoon. Hello. Well, this session is meant to be about the future, and when one looks at the future, one can't help thinking about what they say about economists, that they are much better at predicting the past and the future. And actually, when they predict the past, that seems to be much more of a source of income than of consensus. But more seriously, you only need to look at the last 8 years and how Europe was looking and how the world was looking 8 years ago to realize how difficult and imprudent it would be to try to predict how Europe will look in 2020. Having said that, that doesn't prevent us from having a vision about where we want Europe to be. And that doesn't prevent us from having to say something about why we need a European Institute for Innovation and Technology, or rather, more precisely, why would we need a stronger, bigger, more impactful European Institute for Innovation and Technology? And it cannot be just because innovation is a good thing. There is a lot of evidence that shows that innovation has an extraordinary impact on growth and productivity. It cannot be because technology is a wonderful thing. We have known that technology is a wonderful thing for a long time. So there has to be another reason, and the reason, I think, is that the impact of technology has taken such an exponential increase and is having such an extraordinary impact on productivity, on growth, that it has changed the nature with technology and has put it at the same level as we could have considered the major changes in our societies from, for example, the steam engine or electricity. And innovation, again, the same thing. The nature of innovation has changed, but more importantly, the combination of globalization, technology, and innovation has resulted in something very simple, which is that with the emergence of new emerging economies, Europe, actually Western economies, have simply lost the monopoly of talent and innovation. And this is really critical. This is really critical. Let me give you just two small examples. Take the world population of people who have a university degree. If you take that population and look at the people who have a university degree in the world and are over 55 years old, well, then you see that there's one country in the world, and only one country, that represents 1/3, actually 35%, of all the world's graduates of more than 55 years, and that is, of course, the US. That's actually probably one of the reasons why, and actually one of the understated reasons why the US has been so successful throughout the 20th century. But then if you look at the number of people in the world who have entered university last year, then you also have one country that represents 35% of the world population who join university, and that's China. And this means indeed that the balance of talent has shifted dramatically. Nobody had heard of Huawei Technologies 25 years ago for the simple reason that it was created 25 years ago. Today, it has 140,000 employees, and interestingly, almost half of those employees are engaged in research and development. So we have an extraordinary shift that reflects in things as simple as the fact that Europe is still on top of the world in terms of the production of knowledge, but it is already slipping in the exploitation of the results of research. So there is one very good reason why the EIT is important. It is not because innovation and technology are important. It is because they are taking an extraordinary, new, different dimension for the survival of Europe and for the survival of our way of living. And this is why the Commission believes so strongly that the EIT should not just continue, it should be strengthened dramatically. And this is for the simple reason that the very first role of a European institution today, as you see it, certainly the very first role of the European Commission as we see it, and certainly what constitutes the pride of the actually minuscule team of people like me who are working on the EIT from the Commission. It's very simple that our first task is to help set the direction for a modern, inclusive European economy based on added value activities and innovation. This is the reason why, beyond all other considerations, the Commission is betting so strongly, and I'll say a few words about that, on not just the EIT today, but its future up to 2020. The EIT has an extraordinary role to play, in our view, in ensuring the level of excellence, a level of excellence that is required across all dimensions of the knowledge triangle. And perhaps just as importantly, in convincing policymakers in Europe and its member states of the benefits of an open, transparent, inclusive approach to innovation. And let me say, I will not be long on this because I know that this is what you've been discussing for the last 2 days. Let me say that the EIT already, and strikingly so, has gone already a very long way in this direction. It has managed to establish itself as a new player in the EU innovation landscape. It has managed to support the establishment of 3 KICs, which is no small feat, and those who are in the KICs know this extremely well. And it has managed to begin a series of outreach activities, such as the EIT Entrepreneurship Awards. We have created the EIT Foundation, which is based on a very simple idea, which is that in other societies, particularly in the US, there is one word that was invented in Europe, but somehow has disappeared from our intellectual landscape, which is philanthropy. So we have, I think, tangible proof that the EIT has already, as I say, gone a long way. Its added value is its ability to overcome the fragmentation of Europe's innovation landscape. Fragmentation by countries, fragmentation across programs, across strategies. And this by bringing together different stakeholders at EU level. The integration of education, business, and research is easier said than done, but it is happening in the EIT, and it is what enables the EIT to nurture talent across borders and to foster entrepreneurship. And let's not forget that in the end, it is about talent. It is about not just creating talent, it's about attracting talent, and it is about making sure that talent is used. Let me just remind you one of the most striking figures, one of the striking estimates I have recently heard of. Striking because it comes from the one area of the social sciences, and I say this as an anthropologist, that actually has some reliable predictions, and that's demography. If we wanted to keep the same dependency ratio in Europe's population we have now, the ratio between active and non-active population, if we want to keep that ratio in 2050, we would need 1.3 billion immigrants in Europe. That is not going to happen, but Europe will have to become a more diverse society, and above all, Europe will have to attract and retain its own talent and attract talent from outside. And this is in the end, the noble task of the EIT. The EIT has smart and noble funding structures. This is what we hear in all speeches. I can tell you from the point of view of a practitioner of EU institutions that this is no mean achievement. It is a well-known fact of how much institutions, public institutions and private ones, actually how much big organizations are resistant to change. Well, European institutions are not an exception, unfortunately. But this resistance to change has been broken with the EIT. And the EIT, I think, has the right structure to bring the necessary incentives to remain highly competitive. And again, this is not theory, it is practice. The flexibility, autonomy, and continuity values of the EIT have already proven to be attractive to business. And the strong support of the business sector is critical, of course, for the credibility of the EIT as a project. So let me turn to the outlook for 2020. Because indeed, we do have a very challenging and difficult task ahead. The EIT is an infant, promising infant, an interesting infant, but it's not an adult. And the task we have ahead is to make sure that the EIT becomes a healthy, strong adult. And luckily, although one cannot say that the landscape in Europe is a favorable one, I think there is one clear instrument we have, one clear weapon we have, which is that we have a very clear vision about the future of the EIT and a very clear strategy of where the EIT should go. This is expressed simply, I think, sorry for the lack of modesty, I think very compellingly in the strategic innovation agenda that the Commission has proposed to the Council and Parliament. Now, let me just remind you that the strategic innovation agenda is not just a piece of paper. Actually, it's not just a strategy for the future. It is meant to be something else. It is meant to be the proof of concept of the EIT. And the proof of concept is needed, is healthy, but it has a specific origin. It is that when the EIT was established, it was a promise that wasn't there. And let's be honest, there was a healthy, maybe too healthy, amount of skepticism about the prospects of the EIT. So one of the legitimate conditions that we actually welcomed for the EIT to continue to be established is to prove its merits and to establish a clear strategic innovation agenda for its own future after the first phase. And this is what the Commission did based on the work done by the governing board, based on the consultation of stakeholders in the knowledge triangle. This is what we did on the 30th of November of last year when we presented the strategic innovation agenda. So let me say a few words about the rationale of the SIA. We tried to prove three simple things. First, that we need to deepen the role of the EIT. Second, that we need to enhance its governance. And third, that we need to secure a sufficient necessary funds to achieve the objectives of the EIT. As concerns the deepening of the role of the EIT, well, the SIA aims, first of all, and I'm sure there'll be at least 3 people here in the room that would be happy to hear this, the first task of the strategic agenda, the first aim of the agenda is to consolidate the existing 3 KICs. This is not just to thank the 3 KICs for how much they've done so far. It is because we believe that the 3 KICs have not just proven their value, but also that they have to grow in the years to come. They have to attain a level of maturity, and they have to, last but not least, set the example for the collaboration in the innovation landscape. But also, and this is for us critically important, the 3 existing KICs will be able, we know, to be role models for the younger KICs. The lessons were learned while establishing the first 3 KICs are invaluable assets for the development of the new ones. And luckily so, because I am sure that, especially in an informal setting, the CEOs of the 3 KICs will be listened to in a few minutes, will be able to tell you a considerable number of horror stories about the experiences they had to go through to establish themselves and to become what they were meant to become from the beginning. The right decisions taken so far, and also the mistakes made, will allow us to better design and better implement the selection process of the new KICs. The SIA also argues for the creation of 6 new KICs. Let me stop for a moment here, because this was really the key, crucial point for us. We had to envisage where the growth of the EIT should go, which means where we should put our emphasis on new KICs. And we did this in a very simple way. We tried all our best, with, of course, an impact assessment. We tried all our best to establish a number of clear, transparent, and I do underline transparent criteria for the selection of new. What should be the reasons why? What should be the proof, the justification for new KICs? We submitted that to an open consultation, a public consultation, with the 3 legs of the knowledge triangle. And we came up, I think, with a very solid set of 7 criteria, which you will find in the SIA, which show that the KICs in the future, the new KICs, should focus on a number of key societal challenges: demography, active aging and healthy living, food security, sustainable access to raw materials, added value manufacturing, urban mobility, and smart and secure societies. This is not just a coincidence. Of course, I think it's difficult to question that these are key challenges, but it's more than that. We feel that these are the challenges that not just should be met by the KICs, not should be met by European societies. They are the challenges that are the right complement for the nature of the KICs and the right complement for the societal framework that is given by Horizon 2020, since, of course, the EIT and the KICs are and should be part of the overall Europe strategy, Horizon 2020. Of course, we had another criteria beyond the 7 criteria for the choice of new KICs, which is, of course, to have sufficient critical mass to exploit the full potential of the EIT. Now, we also established, as you will have seen, a proposal for sequencing. The first 3 new themes we suggested, we put as a suggestion to create in 2014, the other 2 at the second stage. We did it for a number of reasons. Let me point out that we felt that these were the most immediate, urgent challenges, but also that there is an element of sequencing that is necessary to make sure that there is stability, that there can be a predictable sequence for those who will apply for the new KICs, and therefore that we give not just an idea of what we want to do, but also a clear idea of the timing for the strategic development of the EIT. But the EIT is more than the sum of its KICs. The EIT is, of course, an institute. And besides supporting the KICs, which is, of course, especially in this initial phase, the core business of the EIT as an institute, the EIT also has a genuine, a strikingly important role to play in the development of the European innovation landscape. Through its outreach activities, the EIT will disseminate, has to disseminate, the lessons learned, the know-how, and its characteristic entrepreneurial spirit to have a real impact on future policies at both ends, at both EU and national level. This is critical not just to exploit the potential and the results of the current and future KICs. It is extremely important for another reason, because the EIT is a European project. It has to show that it is valid, that it is good for Europe, not just for the direct beneficiaries of the KICs, not just for the co-location centers, not just for industry, not just for researchers, not just for those who receive funding from the EIT, but also for the rest of Europe. This is what is the distinctive nature and the measure against which the EIT should be measured in the future. The dissemination of results must be indeed a key element of the EIT. Its design as an institution responds to this mission of knowledge sharing across Europe. This is a voluntary feature that we wanted to have in the EIT. And this, as I said, for the benefit of the widest possible public. So an important part of the EIT's future will lie in ensuring that it reaches untapped centers of excellence across the European Union. And believe me, we have looked very carefully also at this element in the selection of the themes for the new KICs as we have proposed them. The SIA indeed sets also the agenda as the Commission sees it to enhance the impact of the EIT. The increased flexibility and autonomy of the EIT and the KICs must be completed, must be corresponded by a very high degree of accountability. And accountability means, in this case, something very simple. It means that efficiently and a relentless focus on results must be at the heart of the EIT's activities. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, even within the Commission, and I know I am revealing no secret, to secure, to convince that there was a need for flexibility and autonomy of the EIT. Because this is in the nature of the EIT. But this would not have gone through. Actually, we wouldn't have wanted it to go through without being clear about the accountability that goes with it. And this is why we have proposed in the SIA to implement a comprehensive outcome-based monitoring system to ensure that EIT and the KICs deliver on their institutional agenda and business plans. And I really don't think that there's any other institution, funding instrument, or agency of the European Union that has proposed such a thorough system of monitoring. We will be monitoring the EIT against Horizon 2020, against itself as an institution. We will be monitoring the combined impact of the KICs and we'll be monitoring the performance of each individual KIC. I don't think that this is nothing less than proof that we are so confident, about the future of the EIT, that we are perfectly ready. Actually, we are willing to submit the EIT to any test comparable to any other public institution of its merits. The second criteria we try to follow, the second thread we try to follow in the SAA is to provide a rationale to enhance the governance of the EIT. Well, you have heard, I'm sure, many times since yesterday, that the EIT has successfully brought together the three dimensions of the knowledge triangle. This is indeed, sometimes, this can be just words, but actually it is very important because because innovation benefits from the interaction between people with different backgrounds, perspective, and interests. And it is, of course, as I said, crucial for the European Union because working together is not just something good for innovation. It's actually the essence of the project of European integration. And Lord knows that we do need, in these particularly difficult times, a reminder that the EU is also about values. So the EIT, we see it as setting a model for the governance of innovation hubs. This is a fundamental change. My God, I see a panel here, 5 minutes left. I can tell you everything about the future in 5 minutes, but I should skip to the budget pretty soon. The KICs offer a high level of autonomy and flexibility. And this is coupled with the necessary continuity to achieve impact in our society. This is without the burden of red tape. I know that if I ask the CEOs of the KICs whether they see some red tape, we will not be able to say no. But I trust they will confirm that by any standard, that nobody should be spending millions of euros of the public funds too simply. That by any standard, it is simpler to use the provisions of the EIT regulation than the general provisions of the research budget of the EU. So let me come to the money. I said the Commission believes in the EIT. The best way to prove you do so is not by words, but of course by putting your money where your mouth is. And let me just stop for a moment and say, look at what has been the proposal for the Commission for the budget from 2014 to 2020. For obvious fiscal reasons, we have proposed a budget with no increase. There is no increase in the EU budget as proposed by the Commission. We have proposed, however, for two particular chapters, the budget, the highest increase of any for education programs, the mobility programs, education programs, and for research and innovation. The proposal for the EIT is, from the current 309 million euro to 3.18 billion. This is perfectly understandable, and I'm sure that many of the people, the board of the EIT, finds it short. But I can tell you that this is far more than any other piece of the EU budget has managed to achieve, especially considering that we cannot support our claims with a 20-year history of success. So we have proposed a significantly increased budget that aims to support the activities of the EIT. First, its own activities of knowledge and dissemination, outreach and entrepreneurship, as well as its role as an innovation leader in Europe. And secondly, the support, of course, of the existing KICs and their development into mature organizations. And last but not least, to enable the creation of the 6 new KICs we propose. If the budget is approved, we will have an extraordinarily strong instrument to promote innovation, as we have seen it described here for these 2 days. But it is a big if, and this will be my last words. You always hear me, in the EU landscape, as in any other institutional context, there is always people who lobby for funding. Usually, the people who lobby for funding, what they want essentially is to keep what they have, to maintain what they have. There's nobody more conservative than somebody you give money to. The challenge we have in the EIT is that we're asking for an extraordinary increase of funding, not as a leap of faith. We have the proof of concept, and we have, I think, a very clear vision ahead. But it is an extraordinary increase, and it doesn't come just like, it will not come just like that. It is not because innovation is beautiful that people will give money to the EIT. It is not even because the project is great that people will give money to the EIT. People will give money to the EIT if they perceive it is in their interest, their political interest, in their national interest. This is why my last words to you, if you are here because you believe in the future of the EIT as we do, if you are here because you think that it is a project that is worth taking forward, that is worth supporting, with accountability, of course, but it is worth supporting, then please act in your countries, in your constituencies, as ambassadors of the EIT. And on this, I can tell you, the Commission, certainly DG ERC, certainly Commissioner Vassiliou, who is the Commissioner responsible for it, will be with you. Because this is exactly what we're trying to do. Fight for the EIT, because we believe in it. So thank you. And please, when you leave this room, leave it bearing in mind that it's going to be an uphill battle, but a battle worth fighting. Thank you.